You want the moon? Just say the word and I'll throw a lasso around it and pull it down.
Look at the stars. The great kings of the past look down on us from those stars. So whenever you feel alone, just remember that those kings will always be there to guide you.
I don't think it is very useful to speculate on what God might or might not be able to do. Rather, we should examine what he actually does with the universe we live in.
We are all explorers, driven to know what's over the horizon. The most profound discoveries are not necessarily beyond that next star. They're within us, woven into the threads that bind us.
Good morning, beautiful people. Happy Wednesday. Happy Mercury Day. And this Mercury Day is definitely going to live up to its name. We're talking a lot about Mercury today. Spoiler alert, Mercury goes retrograde on Friday. So we're already in that shadow period. We're already starting to feel that energy a little bit of Mercury retrograde, the most infamous transit in astrology as of the past couple years. And just for those of you who aren't familiar, Mercury retrograde means that Mercury appears to be moving backwards from our vantage point here on Earth. Of course, the planet itself doesn't stop in the sky and start moving backwards, or stop in space, I should say. But because we're orbiting around the sun, at certain points from our vantage point, other planets seem to be moving backwards. You know, getting into the science of it all. But we can observe that from our very eyes here on Earth. So when Mercury goes retrograde, Mercury is the planet of communication, of travel, of technology, and sometimes those areas of our life go a little haywire, or we have some hiccups, or we have some roadblocks in those areas. You've probably experienced it during past Mercury retrogrades. And some people feel it a little bit more strongly, other people not so much. But if you are a Virgo rising or a Gemini rising, you probably feel it very potently, or even if you're just a Virgo or a Gemini, because our ruling planet is Mercury. So that's the energy we're walking up to by Friday. And today we have yet another square. This week has been like the week of squares. There's been a ton of squares in the forecast, and a square is that 90-degree angle that brings some tension, some conflict. The two planets locked into the square aren't necessarily working together. They have different motivations that tend to clash with each other. But on a positive note, squares can activate because these planets are really activating each other. They're really, there's some tension there. They're pushing each other. So today we have a square between Mercury and Uranus, and this isn't an exact square. In fact, you probably won't hear a lot of other astrologers talking about this because it's not an exact square. Instead, Mercury and Uranus are dancing within 90 degrees of each other. So, sorry, I was just looking at the chart here. Mercury right now at 10 degrees in Aquarius, Uranus right now at 10 degrees in Taurus. So they are 90 degrees away from each other. But because Mercury moves so quickly, and Mercury is slowing down in this shadow period, it appears to be kind of standing still in the sky over the next couple days as it stations retrograde. You can kind of think of like if a planet's moving and then it starts to move backwards, it's almost like that pendulum effect where, there's almost that point of suspension in the sky, or that stillness before it starts moving backwards. So Mercury's in that stage right now, which is why this transit will linger through the 16th over the next 4 or 5 days. So this square between Mercury and Uranus brings a clash between our communication and our rebellion or our innovation. Mercury is that messenger planet. Uranus is the planet of change and rebellion. So this can have a few different effects. Because this isn't necessarily a positive aspect, this 90-degree angle between the two planets, first of all, you can expect a lot more thoughts and a lot more stimulation to come through. So, pay attention if it feels like your mind is racing, or maybe even you're thinking differently, or you just have a lot of information coming through. Mercury is a very fast energy because it moves so quickly in the sky. It's the fastest planet. And Uranus can make us crave excitement or stimulation. So expect a lot more mental stimulation, maybe a little too much mental stimulation if you're like me and you're already somebody who has a lot of mental chatter. On the positive note of this, though, expect a change of perspective, or you could have a change of mind before the end of the week. You could see things a little bit differently. You could have some breakthroughs, realizations. Expect the unexpected when it comes to information. You could have a surprise nugget of new information come through, or a surprise realization come to light. But it could be hard to discern what is that aha breakthrough versus just more of that mental chatter, because there's so much mental chatter over the next couple days. So I would say to best use this transit, don't necessarily act or fly by the seat of your pants if you have that realization. Just write it down, take note of it, and review it a little later on. Maybe not even during Mercury retrograde, through the end of January, maybe into February, you review this idea, you review this breakthrough, because we can be a little bit more impulsive or reactive under a square, and we're not thinking super clearly when these two planets are activating each other. I also expect some tense conversations around change while Mercury is squaring off to Uranus, leading up to Mercury retrograde. And I think it's very, there are no coincidences. I think that through the end of the week, we're already starting to see this with the state of the world. There are changes happening, right? And a lot of us are having a hard time understanding what the next step looks like, what these changes will bring right now, specifically with the pandemic, with Omicron. There could be some not even awkward, but just intense or activating conversations, communications, realizations about what's going on right now with the world, especially because both of these planets, Mercury and Uranus, rule technology. So technology doesn't necessarily look like the computer or the camera. It can look like a vaccine. It can look like medical technology. It can look like, social technology. So yeah, change, technology, rebellion, all ruled by Uranus. Mercury's very fast-paced. It brings communication. It brings thoughts. It brings words into the picture. And so, yeah, expect some conflict or intense conversations around the changes going on in the world. And understand that everybody is feeling this tense, almost nervous energy right now, especially leading up to Mercury retrograde. And by the way, Mercury retrograde will feel like we're moving backwards in terms of technology, in terms of travel. So prepare for that as well. Over the next couple of weeks, it could feel like we are falling back into past versions of this pandemic, or, past versions of yourself, just falling into the past in general. So I wanted to give you a heads up about that square because, like I said, this will be with us through the 16th. These two planets stay within a degree of that square for the next 4 days. And as you start to see more people talking about Mercury retrograde and more people talking about boosters and vaccines and COVID and Omicron and all those things, it could bring some intense conversations or realizations, and just be prepared for that. Give yourself grace, give other people grace. Remember, we don't have to all believe the same things to get along. It's okay. The nice thing about Uranus being involved is it can open us up to new perspectives. It can help us innovate with technology, travel, communication even. We can talk and communicate a little bit differently when Uranus is involved. So as much as this could bring conflict or discomfort, it could also bring some innovation, and it could also bring a change in perspective. And I think that that could be positive. So, you know, a square isn't the most fun aspect to talk about necessarily, but this is very activating. This is a time of change for sure, especially through the end of the week. The moon is still in Taurus. It's a waxing moon making its final trek through the sign of the bull, reminding us to get grounded in our body, giving us these last couple hours. The moon doesn't move into Gemini until 7 p.m. Pacific time. So today is really that last day to get grounded, pay attention to your body. I've been saying it all week, but this is your chance, your last chance to really delve into that earth energy with the moon in Taurus. And the moon actually already made a couple connections, or one connection I should say, at 3 o'clock this morning at Pacific time. So maybe if you live on the East Coast or even farther east, you experienced this when you woke up. The moon harmonized with the Capricorn Sun. Both of these planets, the moon and the sun, in earth signs, forming a trine, a 120-degree angle to one another. And this could have had you waking up with an air of confidence or just feeling balanced between your inner self and your outer self, more comfortable in your skin, more grounded in your emotions. That is the benefit of the moon forming a trine to the sun. This is a really nice, harmonious, balanced transit to start our Wednesday. So if you're feeling a little boost, a little pep in your step, good, lean into it and keep that energy going. At 11 a.m. Pacific time, so in just a couple hours, the moon forms another trine, this time to Pluto, the planet of death and rebirth, the planet of shadows. So Pluto is still in Capricorn, 26 degrees, and in a couple hours, the moon and Pluto will lock into a trine with one another. So here's what that looks like. You can see, where is he? Pluto's over here, the moon is over here. And when this happens, midday today, we might start to feel this energy even now. We can get a little boost of passion. Our emotions can be intensified under this, or even our obsessions could be intensified under this. But for the most part, this transit brings good fortune. So we can go deep with other people. We can get emotionally vulnerable because we don't take our own emotions lightly, and we don't take other people's feelings lightly either under this transit. And as we've been talking about conversations around change, a change in perspective, you know, doing things differently, seeing things differently with that square between Mercury and Uranus, this aspect between the moon and Pluto, this connection can help us infuse our emotions into those conversations, and that change of perspective could bring a change of emotional intelligence or awareness as well. So yeah, midday today is a good time if you've been wanting to have more deep conversations, or you know, kind of, if you've been wanting to broach a certain subject, it could be a good time between, I don't know, 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. Pacific time, midday today. Also, this transit, when the moon harmonizes with Pluto, that can enhance sexual chemistry as well, especially with the moon in Taurus, making us more aware of our body, and Pluto in Capricorn, also an earth sign. You know, this could be a great time to hop between the sheets and, you know, let out some tension that way. So that's what's going on midday today. The last connection that the Taurus moon makes before it moves into Gemini is it forms a conjunction with the North Node. So let's jump ahead. That happens at 4 p.m. Pacific time. So you can see it right here. The moon, let's jump back a little bit. meets up with the North Node in Taurus. And the nodes just shifted into Taurus and Scorpio in December. And some astrologers look to a different calculation of the nodes, and the nodes will shift. You'll start to see more astrologers talking about that in the next couple weeks. But as far as the current transits, the current chart, the moon meets up with the North Node. Now, the North Node, we've talked about this in past live streams. The nodes are representative of our direction in life and our past karma. So the North Node represents the lessons you're here to learn in this lifetime, your purpose. The South Node represents past lifetimes, karmic cycles, lessons you already came into this life knowing, and an energy you probably feel more comfortable in. So when the moon meets up with the North Node, this can look like a glimpse of our purpose, a ping of direction. We'll be more aware of the lessons that we're currently learning at this point in our lifetime, and we'll be more aware of what the path forward is going to look like. So that's 4 p.m. Pacific time this evening. Pay attention to any insights or realizations that come through, because remember, we have Mercury and Uranus forming that square too, helping us innovate, helping us think differently. And we'll be more emotionally aware of our purpose, of the path forward, of the lessons we're learning around 4 p.m. this afternoon. So that's a positive transit, I think. There's no good or bad transits, but I think a lot of people have been feeling, especially with that square between Mars and Neptune yesterday, so many squares to talk about, and we're still feeling that square a little bit today. Let me see. Today's the 12th. Yeah, so the energy we're feeling most potently between, or today in general, are these two squares between Mercury and Uranus and Mars and Neptune. So there is a lot of tension, there is a lot of discomfort, but when the moon meets up with the North Node this evening, we might gain just a little bit of clarity or even some emotional reassurance that we're on the right path, that we're going in the right direction. And then at 7 p.m. Pacific time, the moon enters chatty and social Gemini. So there she is in Gemini, and when this happens through the end of the week, we can expect to feel more social. We might be more curious. We might want to learn new information. You can expect more verbal processing. So if you're already somebody who processes your emotions verbally, expect to be doing more of that through the rest of the week. Or if you're a great listener, expect the people around you, the people you love, to come to you to verbally process whatever they're going through. And we can expect, I would say, when the moon is in Gemini too, we can expect more activity on social media. We can expect more events, more connection between people. And Gemini is the student. So like I said, we'll want to learn more, which is really helpful with this square between Mercury and Uranus that we started this show talking about, because learning, being in that mindset of always learning, always being the student, can help us keep an open mind and help us lean into that change of perspective or that innovative energy that we're talking about. So that's what's going on with the moon. And it's a really nice day with the moon. We have trines, we have this conjunction with the North Node, especially after yesterday. The moon made a lot of different connections. It made some squares. It was kind of an emotional roller coaster yesterday, and a lot of people felt tired and low vibe. I know I had to take a nap midday because I was just like done. I could not hang. So today will definitely be a different energy, and I would expect a lot more chatter, a lot more conversation today. This Mercury day really living up to its name as Mercury, the planet of communication, starts to form this square, this 90-degree angle with Uranus, the planet of innovation, rebellion, and change. So these two planets will be dancing in this 90-degree angle over the next 4 days. And as that happens, we can expect to have some tense conversations about the changes going on in the world. We can also just expect a lot more mental chatter, a lot more stimulating thoughts. Could be hard to quiet the mind and discern what thoughts are important and what are just passing through. But if we use this square to our advantage, we could come away with a change of perspective or an innovative idea. And this square between Mercury and Uranus is really preparing us to pay attention to Mercury's energy, because Mercury does station retrograde this Friday. So that's why these planets are locked in this square or dancing in this square over the next couple of days, because Mercury is really slowing down as it prepares to go retrograde. The moon makes its last connections in the sign of Taurus, first forming a harmonious angle to the sun at 3 o'clock this morning. You might have woken up with more confidence or more comfort in your own body. Then the moon forms a trine to Pluto at 11 a.m. Pacific time, and that can intensify our emotions a little bit, but also help us be more vulnerable and go into those deep conversations or deep emotional places with other people. This can also boost your sex drive. And then the moon forms a conjunction to the North Node at 4 p.m. Pacific time, giving us a glimpse of our purpose and a ping of direction, helping us emotionally realize the path forward and the lessons we're learning. The moon moves into Gemini at 7 p.m. Pacific time, which brings a little change of energy, a change of pace, definitely picking up the pace and making us feel more social, more curious. By the end of the week, we're going to feel a lot of Mercury energy, a lot of it, because like I said, Mercury and Uranus square off to each other over the next 4 days. Mercury goes retrograde on Friday, and the moon in Gemini, Gemini has that Mercury energy. It's ruled by Mercury. So expect a lot more conversation, a lot more communication, a lot more thoughts to come through. Communication is really going to dominate the end of the week, and information as well. Expect new information to come to light with Mercury squaring Uranus. I would say over the next couple days, I wouldn't be surprised if new facts or if the news starts to talk about new information a lot more. I'll just leave it at that. I don't know what's going to come of that, but that's what I'm feeling and seeing. Okay, let's pull a card. Today, I'm going to pull from the Spirit Animal Oracle. It's a big deck, and we'll see what messages need to come through. I love this deck because each card is a different animal. And you know what? I've been watching a lot of this show called Animals on Netflix. I don't know if you guys have seen it. It's like very Planet Earth. And if you're looking for something to watch over the next couple days, actually, that show is awesome. It's a great way to learn new information, to maybe change your perspective a little bit without having to talk about the pandemic. If you're not in the mood for that, I would highly recommend. There's a whole episode just about like dogs and foxes and canines, and I love dogs, so that was highly recommend. Yeah. All right, let's pull a card. What do we need to know today? Oh my goodness, that's so funny. As I was talking about that show, there's a whole episode on marsupials we just watched, I think, last night. And I pulled the koala spirit. Koalas are very interesting, as I learned in this show. Okay, number 35. If that has any significance to you, this is your card. All right, koala spirit. Spirit has a plan. In nature, the koala moves slowly through the branches of the eucalyptus tree, leisurely chewing the leaves, reminding us that life is not a race or competition. Chasing around after every distraction can keep us from recognizing that we have all we need and that Spirit will always be there with gifts to sustain us. You are being asked to trust that by moving slowly with faith in the abundance that is everywhere, surrendering to a power greater than yourself, you will be able to experience the manifestation of your desire. As you take your time enjoying the riches available to you right now, sitting peacefully, you begin to radiate the joy and abundance you seek. Spirit is here to help you discover happiness, pleasure, and contentment, all gifts that are yours now and in the future. Have faith and trust in Spirit's plan for you, and know that you are loved and cherished. great reminder to slow down because, Mercury and Uranus forming this square, what we've been talking about this entire show, can really make things speed up mentally. It can make us feel overstimulated. So this reminder to slow down and be still, very helpful over the next couple days. And as I said before, don't take every little thought that comes through over the next couple of days and run with it. This is a reminder to slow down and sit with whatever realizations you have, even write them down and revisit them later, because there's going to be a lot of mental chatter. So we don't want to just run with anything that comes through. Some of it will be amazing and innovative and breakthrough realizations, and some of it will just be kind of those thoughts that pass through your head. So keep that in mind, slow down, embody the spirit of the koala, and remember to be grateful in this moment. Find resonance in this moment. And that should help you navigate this very mercurial, very buzzy, chatty energy over the next couple days. Love that card. All right, everybody, that's going to do it for this live stream today. I hope that this helped you prepare for the energy of the day, get you in the right mindset. I hope it gave you a little preview of Mercury Retrograde, got you thinking about what's to come. Some people despise Mercury retrograde, and some people it doesn't affect too much. So this is a good time to start feeling it out, paying attention to how you're feeling over the next couple days as Mercury slows down and prepares to start moving backwards from our vantage point here on Earth. If you enjoyed this live stream, if it helped you out at all, please like the video below and go ahead and subscribe to the channel to find out when we're doing more of these live streams. We go live every morning around 8:15, 8:30 a.m. Pacific time. It's the easiest and fastest way to support this free information. And if you are curious about how today's transits are going to affect you and activate your chart, go ahead and book a reading with me. They are now available on thespiritualjournalist.com/reading. So lots of ways to work together. You can also find me on Instagram, DM me there, and I put out a lot of content about astrology over on my page on Instagram as well. So thanks to everybody who joined me this morning. Super grateful for you. I'm grateful that you made the decision to align with the energy of the universe today. And I hope you have a fantastic Wednesday. I hope you enjoy this last little bit of the Taurus moon, helping us really get into our body and get grounded before the mental stimulation really picks up over the next couple days. Hope you have a beautiful day, and I'll see you right back here tomorrow morning. But until then, stay curious. Thank you so much for joining us and aligning with the energy of the universe today. If you enjoyed this morning's episode of Transits Today, you can join our live astrology discussion every weekday morning right here wherever you're watching. And head to thespiritualjournalist.com to read your daily astrology forecast and browse the Spiritual Shop. The most fun way to help keep these forecasts free and support more content like this is to buy yourself a little something on our website. But if you're feeling extra generous, you can also buy me a coffee to fuel future live streams. Just tap the link in the description or head to buymeacoffee.com and search The Spiritual Journalist. And speaking of, you can also tune in to The Spiritual Journalist, our weekly live interview where we ask our guests questions about everything from crystals and manifestation to mental health and the environment. Those conversations stream live right here wherever you're watching now every Tuesday. I'm so grateful you found us here, and I can't wait for our next conversation.